All right, so we are going live, but this will be recorded on YouTube and X for posterity. I have with me John Rasberry. John Rasberry is a certified psychodramatist, and he is a board certified psychodramatist, to be specific. Creator of the Mid-South Center of Psychodrama and Sociometry, and currently the sole practitioner of John Rasberry LLC. We are going to be talking about psychodrama and sociometry today, and in the spirit of spontaneity and creativity, we're going to mostly try to wing it. So,
Yeah,
how you doing today, John?
yeah, I'm doing good today, Ed. And you yourself?
Not too shabby. It is gray and chilly in the Midwest, so I've come. I'm wearing socks and fuzzy slippers, and I am quite cozy for this
Well,
for this
good for
conversation.
you. Good for you. That's the other thing I'll send you with the coffee cup is a
Uh-huh.
pair of microwave slippers.
Microwave slippers.
Put
Yeah,
them
that
in the
might change my
microwave.
life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Just
especially
a
around
little.
January and February here.
Oh yeah, it's just a little side activity of mine.
Yeah, I have my Hermosa Beach Brothers Burritos coffee cup to remind me of California. I don't think it's actually
Oh,
warming me as much as the
the
West
sun
Coast
and
sun.
turf. Yeah. Oh
Hmm.
boy.
Well, some of the people who are watching may be aware of sociometry through the sociometry didactic series that we're doing. But for this, I was hoping to do kind of a live Q&A. My dog's joining us.
That's fine. I'm
Um,
usually out track dogs.
so one of the questions that I,
Funny.
oh, I'm sorry. No, please go ahead.
That's go. One of the questions you have is
One of the questions I have ready is, I so I work with a lot of people who are interested in group theory or group psychology or just groups in general. And the first question I have is, why do some groups kind of stay cold and disconnected, and why do other groups heat up or warm up quickly?
in sociometric theory, and sociometry is the study of interrelationships.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we believe that it is the responsibility of the director, the therapist, the psychodramatist, to warm the group up by having them do some pairing and sharing prior to any direct work around an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I would say to a group, regardless of the size, but let's say it's since psychodrama, since Dr. J.L. Moreno invented group psychotherapy, let's keep it with. Um, I would ask the group to stand up and pair up with someone from across the circle.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons I say across the circle is because previous connections, allies will sit next to each other.
You know, people
And
are going to buddy up with the people that they know the best.
absolutely. And so the connection is not as critical because they're bringing that connection in to the session or into
Mm-hmm.
the group. So I would say pair up with someone from across the way, and when you spread out and share with your partner two things you would like for them to know about you. Can be anything.
Is the subject less important, or is it really just kind of a flimsy pretext to get people to just talk and open up and vibe with each other, more or less?
Um, it is absolutely critical to the success of the group to have certain issues, certain dynamics that play in a group dealt with. If you don't deal with those, they're going to continue to show up throughout the life of the group, and it usually sabotages whatever the therapist, the group leader, is warmed up for the group to deal with, or individual members warmed up to deal with something. So it's the responsibility of the psychodramatist to create appropriate criteria to give the pairs in the group to talk about for 3 minutes.
So what would you mean by appropriate criteria?
Well, we go periphery to core, just like we do in a psychodrama. We go from the
Start
outside
with something light and easy.
Something light and easy, and as the criteria is created, it gets a little more challenging, a little more challenging, a little more revealing. So, one of the criteria that I like to deal with a new group is creating safety. So pair up with someone you hadn't shared with, spread out, share with that partner one thing that scares you about being in group and one thing you're going to need to feel safe.
Okay.
All right.
Would that be one of your first questions, or would that be one of your second or third ones?
It'd be my third or fourth question.
Okay.
Yeah. As we move along into the pair and share, people are going to discover their commonalities and their differences. With that in mind, that rests heavily on the group member who we are trying to help in a particular session. And they choose people from the group to play roles in this issue that they're struggling with.
Okay.
So informed consent means how can I make an accurate choice about who I want to play my mother if I haven't touched base with each member of the group?
Right. If we've never had any conversation, if we haven't warmed up, if I don't at least know this person's first name.
And if I don't have made real a dynamic between the two of us. So groups are built in pairs, not in 20s or 30s. And a lot of business people make this mistake because they want everyone to just stand up and just talk about what you believe the economy is going to be like in 5 years. And then when I say stop, and we'll come back. That's not enough.
Right. If even that, because I think a lot of business owners right now, everything is through screens, or they could be in completely different areas. But the group that I'm really thinking this is in contrast to is the traditional psychoeducational group, which is like like a classroom setting where people come in, they sit down in a chair. Maybe they're going to sit in the back with their buddies so that they can make snide comments about the therapist.
All right.
Who just gives a lecture.
Okay. So sociometrically, I would hold a hypothesis that the people in the back are either disinterested, scared to death, or in the wrong meeting. And I want to help them move from that spot so they can have the greatest opportunity to benefit from the session, even if they're not the person we're directly working with in the group.
Or even if this were in a more classroom setting, some degree of a warm up or a joining or a group cohesion exercise would make them more susceptible to the actual, like what they're here to learn or what they actually need to take from maybe the lecture. I'm trying to maybe create a range here from like a process group to maybe a psychoeducational group.
Okay. So even in a psychoed group where the participation historically is limited by the group.
Low, if at all.
Yeah.
Like
but I still want to help the people in the back find or create a way to where their attention is opened up and they are warmed up to be involved and learn and discuss and whatever it is that the presenter is presenting on. So in order to serve that goal, I would ask the people in the back and the people on the front row to look at each other and choose one person. You on the front row, choose one person on the back row to pair up with, and I will give you your criteria to discuss. So I'm hoping to pull
from the extremes.
From the extremes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Now, well, people would say, well, the people on the front row are really fired up, warmed up, and they're there, they're interested, they want to listen, they want to learn, they want to participate. Why do we have to go through these measures with them? We believe sociometrically we are far more alike than different. Whether we sit on the front row, back row, black, white, green, rich, poor, sick, healthy, it makes no difference. We're still much have in common. So the benefit for the first row is they get to, based on the criteria that the director comes up with, gets to benefit from the presence of the people on the back row, and certainly vice versa. The people on the back row, we hope, when what looks to be the smartest guy in the room chose me, who feels very inadequate, and I'm not sitting on the front row because I'm afraid he'll ask me a question and I'll miss it and then I'll look like a fool in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
But the smart guy chose me. Wow, that's wonderful. You know,
I can't help of the parallel process as the front row sitter. I'll have like a recorder because I'm afraid I might miss something, and on a test I might look like an idiot.
Yeah.
It's almost the same fear.
And my criteria for this sharing in this moment could very well be: share with your partner a time in your life, past, present, or future, where you have felt like a loser.
Okay.
And now we can see the curative factor in that, because problems, trauma, psychological issues keep us apart.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't help but think, because I work with people who are typically obsessive. They are the ones who are in the front row seat, and they're not going, "Oh boy, I sure love how good I'm doing on all of my tests and getting in all of my grades." They're anxious. They're burning the midnight oil. They're up getting their A, but they're working for it because they're anxious or they're afraid, much like the person in the back might be. So yeah, I guess I'm really picking up on this familiarity. If you bridge that gap, they might find themselves more alike, or that they might, I don't know how I'm going to phrase it, that person in the back going, maybe I'm a little bit more like this person, or maybe I shouldn't idolize them and think that they're all that it's choked up to be,
I
or all
can't
that's chalked
believe
up to be.
I cannot believe uh, he said that to me. I
Hmm.
figured I figured he was probably uh, the smartest guy in the room and the most successful. I had no idea he was on the verge of bankruptcy,
Or I thought it came easy to him.
or I thought it came easy to him. And he
Hmm.
shared with me how long he struggled with it.
Right.
Now the group is building. And if you have 10 members in the group, we're going to have 10 different pairings, each with its own criteria as I move the group to more completely get warmed up to offer an issue in this session for the group to deal with.
Hmm. But
Typically, go
do,
ahead.
do you mind if I ask though, like where do the typical therapist, if such a thing exists, the average, where do they typically go wrong in making these connections, or where are they
They don't,
failing?
they
Where are
don't,
they
they
failing
don't,
to make these
they
connections?
don't make them. They don't make them. What most practitioners and clinics describe as group psychotherapy is not group psychotherapy. It is a couple of smart people in front of an audience trying to teach the rest of them how to be better people,
Better people, whatever that means.
whatever that means. And
Hmm.
usually, here's the danger in psychotherapy: if the practitioner has not done their own personal work, then the chances of trans- transference from
Hmm.
the practitioner to the group, or at least projection, becomes very high.
Could you say more about that, like what that might look like?
Yeah, so most practitioners in graduate school are trained to lead the group, not follow the group.
Ooh, yeah, that
So
tracks.
yeah,
A lot of lectures, a
a
lot
lot
of
of
here.
lecture.
Here's my group. Go run it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, and so as a result, I believe that our efficacy rate in psychotherapy of 17% is created in part because of this lack of appropriate training in graduate school.
Hmm. Well, I would agree with that. I think the most I got from just the curriculum, not from actual mentorship, training, supervision, I think was about half a chapter on Yalom.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot, and when I found myself actually at the point where I was training interns, practicum students, and other trainees, I found they were lucky to even have that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was early in my practice before psychodrama training, um, I would go into a group session at our regional medical behavioral health at the medical center. I would go into a group session. Hey, how's everybody doing? Who's got something they want to talk about? And this is what I'd get typically.
Yeah, or the one person who's ready to go every week. Me again,
Every
me
week.
again,
Yeah, yeah,
me
right.
again.
Exactly. And then the practitioner wonders why their group has gone from 8 to 4. Well, these people that we work with are not stupid, they're wounded. So they're not going to sit in a group where they don't have an opportunity. Now, the practitioner can say, "Oh, well, this is a good opportunity for a someone who is not as confident as they need to be to learn how to speak up and say, well, Janice talked all last session. I want to have some time today." Well, as far as I'm concerned, you've just asked a person, if they're able to do that, they don't need your group. And so we're asking people to be able to play a role that they are unable to play, and that's why they're in therapy. And so, sociometrically, when Jane, who has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, is just yappity yap, yap, yap every session, then traditional psychotherapy tells us we need to either confront her or level with her to stop that behavior. Well, over time, we have realized that the best thing confrontation can produce is either rebellion or compliance, either of which are not true.
Yeah, with a side of resentment.
Yes, with the side of resentment.
on either side of that.
Right.
I imagine.
Right. So, as I look around the fifth group session that we've had, and yes, Jane has taken up most of the time in the last two sessions, and I'm reading the group, and the body language is rejecting toward Jane. They sit with their back shoulder a little bit, or they never make eye contact. It's always was.
You hear the passive aggressive sighs from the back of the room every time she opens her mouth.
Right. Exactly. Or we have the individual whose trauma has been centered around violence and anger. And, he's 6'4", 242 pounds. And he says, Jane, shut the fuck up. I'm sick of hearing from you all.
Now, we are live. I don't think I have a bleep button. Oh, gosh, I'm blurry. Sorry, I didn't realize this.
Now.
I think my camera is zooming in on my mug. Give me a second to fix this.
Okay.
Oh, the joys of technology.
Oh, isn't it wonderful?
It's supposed to zoom. It's supposed to lock in on eyes. There we go. Sorry about that. Continue. All right. Jane so was someone shouted at Jane.
Yeah, big old Ralph plays the only role he has in his repertoire to try and be heard, which alienates the whole group. He's got 2 people out of 10 that are kind of siding up with him because they're scared to death if they don't. The other one is siding up with Ralph, the big guy, mad at Jane because it's a reenactment with his father. And so, I'm still trying to get Daddy to love me. So I'm not going to say anything to Ralph about, hey, buddy, please tone it down a little bit. That's too little.
I'm still imagining this playing out in a standard psychoeducation group where like a group leader or a graduate student is maybe sweating and exasperated going, I'm just trying to teach them this lecture.
Right. So an appropriate intervention in that scenario sociometrically might be, as I look and see Ralph's turning red-faced and clenching his fist while he's sitting there in the chair in the circle, and somebody else is rolling their eyes, and so here come the Jane, hang on just a second. I need to check in with the group. Would everybody stand up, please? If you are in support of giving Jane some more time this session, would you please go get connected with her physically, just a hand on her shoulder, in a way that's comfortable for each of you, and share with her how come you made that decision to give her more time. or only one person moves to Jane because their codependency, if you will, their fear of abandonment, their own struggle with being rejected motivates them to rescue again. So it's not really a genuine, authentic feeling, but they go to Jane, this person, and Jane gets to feel the other 7 not being connected with her. And then I would turn and ask the person connected to her, share with Jane why you came to support her, why you want to give her more time. And then one at a time, folks, if you will share with Jane, how come you don't? 3 people into that process, I'm going to ask Jane on the 4th group member sharing why they are not voting to give Jane more time, to reverse roles with that group member. And I'll warm them up. And now that group member comes over and takes the role of Jane, and I'll warm them up. And hopefully through this work, the group and Jane get an opportunity to realize in a safe way, not a confrontive or leveling way, but in a safe way, people have, for Jane to say, gosh, dog, I'm shocked. I thought everybody would choose me to let me speak some more this session. But, now that I reflect on it, maybe this has been one of my problems. After all, why I don't have many friends is I dominate the conversations. I talk and talk and talk, and I'm not thoughtful toward other people.
Would this be coming from her, or would this be coming through maybe the double or the reversed role? Would she be going, this is what you always do, you dominate the conversation and people don't support you?
See, the minute one starts with the other, this is what you always do, the walls go up.
They'll get quiet and
either get quiet or they get pissed off and start cursing and says, I'm not staying in this group. You can forget it. This is not a place I can come share. Forget it.
I'll take your license too. I'll key all your cars. Sorry, I don't mean to be catty, but it's probably an intense reaction.
Well, the transference, we know it's laden with transferential dynamics, and most practitioners are not trained to deal with it in an appropriate way. They can deal with it in a psycho-ed kind of way, which goes in one ear and out the other for the patient.
Well, I hate to say this, but unfortunately, a lot of our colleagues aren't very comfortable with affect, which is why they prefer to go and use a chalkboard and use lectures and homework instead of actually work with these intense emotions as they play out in relationship.
Right. So we're back to that piece I shared in the beginning, unless you've done your own personal work.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I value so much about psychodrama in our typically 7-year training process is we deal with our own issues in service to the training.
Right.
And so we get to kill 2 birds with one stone. We get to train and educate and model. And then I also had so many productive dramas dealing with my abandonment issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe every psychodrama or sociometry training I've attended, I think there's a lot of the disclaimer, a lot of the informed consent around emotions will come up. It's secondary to the training. The training comes first, and it's impossible to do this training without some of this emotion stuff coming out. And I think that the parallel to that, at least in the therapy training that I've got, it's the importance of supervision and training to know what it really actually feels like to be in the other chair, why it's important to get your own therapy in addition to being a therapist.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to, well, I'm probably projecting, but who else would do this job for a living but crazy people? So
I like to think people, disciplined into their pursuit of mastery, but you have to be a little crazy to tolerate the frustration in the pursuit of mastery.
well, but as I think most of us do, myself included, when I got into graduate school, well, I got an undergraduate degree in counseling, but even in my undergraduate program, I really believed I was a pretty solid guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going into this field to help others because I am a pretty solid guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. So boy, that first time that it hit me emotionally
Mm-hmm.
was a very valuable piece of experience.
Yeah, I see online the I'm blanking on the principle. I think it's also used in engineering, where the less you know about a subject, the more you think you know about a subject.
Okay, I
I
hadn't heard that one, but okay.
Well, I think very often that also applies to ourself. And then the more we do this work, the more we learn that there is a foundational principle in psychology that we don't know ourselves very well. And the more we know ourselves, the more we learn we probably don't know ourselves very well. So
Right.
yeah, I agree with you. I think it's actually very important to be in your own therapy, even if you think that you're well, if you're doing this kind of work. Well, I do have other questions. I don't
Yeah,
know if
yeah.
you want to stay
Does
on
that
this.
does that sufficiently give
Well,
a measure to sociometry and group building?
I was wanting to get a sense for cohesion and warming people up, or at least recognizing where people fail to warm their groups up. And I really just thought that was going to be a 10 or 15-minute conversation, and that cleared actually a pretty good chunk of this time.
Good, good.
Trying to think of what other I have one that's kind of related to this because it's in less of a clinical setting and it's more about relationships in general. But why are some relationships effortless when others seem to be exhausting or slow to warm? Not just in the clinical setting, but just socially, professionally, romantically.
Well, the ones that work well uh, is because of the mutuality of the two individuals. They already have a lot in common, and that's part
Okay.
of the attraction. Oh, it's nice to find somebody who knows what I'm talking about and how I'm feeling.
So I have the subnote about tele that this is the deeper knowing before actually maybe even opening our mouths or
Exactly. So, in the choosing, whether it's in a clinical setting or whether you're at a dinner party or um, uh, friends getting together around the campfire, the choice making is based on life experience. And many times we know on a deeper emotional level about someone we are interested in moving toward. And that knowing that we don't speak. So we don't say to our partner, to another person standing with us, I think I'm going to go over there and introduce myself to Bob, because just looking at him, uh, he looks like he's a lonely kind of guy that could use some company. Versus, I don't know why I chose Bob, but as we visited, and he let me know that his mother died when he was a child, and my mother died when I was a child. And I'd never met Bob before till this group session. But I just had a hunch that Bob was struggling with something. I didn't know what it was. So
That must have been why I'm sitting next to him. That must be why I've been trying to like have coffee with him or sit or chat him up in breaks, things like that.
Exactly. That tele of I know you and you know me, and we don't have to speak it.
Well, I'm one of the thoughts that comes to my mind is how many relationships and how many stories I've heard, even if it's like at a wedding or something, where the initial response was like, I hated him at first, or I looked at that guy and I was like, I hate this guy. And then the more I spoke to him, I realized he was exactly like me. We have all the same experiences, and then they're best friends. But what makes people slow to? Well, I guess this might be too heavy a question. Like,
No, go ahead and ask it.
What is it that makes this exhausting? Because if tele is effortless, what are the attempts at?
Because we have experienced, either verbally or in action, that if you make the wrong choice, I want nothing to do with you.
Okay, so it's this idea of I'm already imagining what I think they need me to do, and that's the exhausting. You're maybe acting within. You're making me think of the initial backseat, front of the room, back of the room kind of interaction here, because if you're naturally inclined to connect with somebody, you're probably sitting next to them anyway. You're probably looking for the effortless ones, not these effortful ones, the ones where maybe you're policing yourself a little bit more, or you're draining yourself a little bit more. Would that be coming out in the warm up? Would they be like, "Oh my gosh, talking to Randy is just so exhausting. I hope I don't. Oh, I can't. I don't want to pair up with him again next week."
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully that open tension system, that dislike of Randy, is going to surface throughout the work of the group. That, Bob, the other guy, after feeling the cold shoulder from Randy for 2 or 3 sessions, when I thought we started off on a good foot and had a good conversation, and now I'm like yesterday's garbage, I got to ask him. And so before we get started, I got a question I want to ask Randy. You not like me? What's the deal?
I'm also thinking this would come out in maybe a psychodrama if maybe the person who's exhausted is the protagonist, or the one that the group has chosen to work through the issue that day. And they're going through, oh, this person is exhausting me. Great, grab somebody from the group to be this person in your life, this parent or boss or teacher. They're going to maybe grab Randy because that might be what they're enacting. That might be the transference, or that might be what they're repeating in their relationships.
Right. So it's our responsibility as practitioners to intervene in that and not let that happen.
Okay, why not? What would be the risk there?
The risk is, as I forget the names I've been using, but the guy not chosen
Hmm.
has struggled with this all his life.
Oh, of
And
course you would pick me. Everyone's exhausted by me or something.
right, let's scapegoat Bob.
Okay.
Bob's the loser. Bob's the guy that gets on everybody's nerves. And a particularly potent, although um, disturbed, but a particular potent group member can begin to exercise undue influence on many people in the group to not like Bob.
Okay.
That guy's a loser. We're out in the parking lot smoking cigarettes after group. Uh, you know, uh, I hate Bob. You know, he's just a loser. I knew from the first time we shared I wasn't going to be. And you can have other group members standing in the parking lot going, yeah, that's right. I didn't like him either. Only because they're scared of being abandoned by Randy.
Right. But how would we get in the way of it? Like, as our responsibility as maybe the group leader, if you're like, all right, grab somebody to be the punching bag, and they're like, oh, I know exactly who to be as the
Right,
punching bag.
right. A couple of different ways we can intervene. Um, if Randy has been chosen as our protagonist by the group, not by the group leader, but by the group, majority of the group. And Randy wants to deal with his anger he has with people that don't know when to shut up. And it gets me in trouble at work. And, I just run off at the mouth, and I've got to change that. Great. Randy asked somebody in group to be one person that you are having this tension with presently. Oh, Bob. Bob's who I want. One intervention can be the use of the doubling technique, speaking the unspoken or the unconscious. And I might say to Randy, I'm going to say this as you, with the hand on his shoulder. I'm going to say this as you, Randy. Stay with your truth. But Bob, ever since we first met, I realized I did not want to get to know you, and I really don't like you much.
Oh, wow.
And
Would you
hopefully,
make him say it if it was his truth? I think that person
absolutely
would be like, oh, I don't want to say that to him. That would be mean.
good. Then we will carry um, that dynamic into his drama, dealing with this anger he has that shows up inappropriately.
Okay.
But if he does say, yeah, Bob, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but it's just, I don't feel comfortable with you. Bob, how you doing? It hurts. I run into this a lot. Okay, all right. Well, if you will, Bob, we're going to work with Randy tonight. If you will, though, I want you to bookmark what's been revealed here at the first group. And I hope you will give yourself an opportunity to deal with that in a subsequent session.
But you're not going to let him play the role of whatever punching bag is to
Not
play out in
right. So the
that role.
second intervention is to go to Bob and say, as a double, well, this is what I've been labeled as my whole life, is a guy people don't like. So I might as well play it play the role for you, Randy, because apparently that's really what I am. That type of sharing can change the group, including Ralph. So I'll turn to Ralph and, wow, that was pretty honest, Ralph, coming from Bob. Hell yeah, it was. I mean, Bob, more power to you, buddy, but, I'm not going to invite you to dinner. Well, that's all right. Okay, that's all right. Would you look at Bob and share with him one relationship you have tried to have that the other person was not interested in creating with you?
Okay. Get him to understand what that might be like to be told, I ain't inviting you to dinner anytime soon.
Right. I don't like you.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do any work, you're going to be the antagonist every time I do a drama. Until you shape up and behave like I want you to behave, and then maybe I'll let you be a positive role in one of my dramas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the family dynamics. That's what happened for each of them growing up that gets replayed in a form created to bring them relief.
Well, how are you dealing with it at the end of the session to make sure that one or both of them come back the next week?
At the end of the session, in psychodrama, we take the last 30 minutes or 20 minutes for the group to give back to the protagonists, each member of the group, how they connected and how the protagonist's work touched them this session. So that gives Bob a chance to say, this is how I'm like you, Randy. If you don't like me, you don't like me. But this is how I am like you. As a matter of fact, I've been a horse's ass to, I'm sure, to many people that I didn't care about, and subsequently I mistreated instead of just trying to be polite and express myself in appropriate ways.
And how are they both growing from this? How are they both I don't know if growing is the appropriate word, but what are they getting from it?
Well, they're getting an opportunity in a safe environment to be transparent that they've never had a chance to be.
Where the frame or the parameter of the group is that this is the space for us to have these conversations, or where we can practice having them more effectively or
right. And the value of psychodrama is that we move from the initial conversation into having Randy set a scene where he's struggling in the here and now with this person at work that he just despises. So until Bob develops the ability to more, with appropriate spontaneity and creativity, take care of himself, then as the practitioner, it's my responsibility not to create an iatrogenic intervention where it hurts him more than it helps him by me sitting back and letting Randy confront him and blow him out of the water, and then just sit back and say, well, Bob, how does that make you feel?
So we've been using the word warm up a lot to mean something specifically, but even sort of symbolically or metaphorically, we are responsible for some degree of a therapeutic temperature.
Absolutely.
Hot enough to cathect change, but not so hot that it creates this iatrogenic harm, where they're now going home and they're yelling at their wife and they're not coming back next week.
Yeah, making comments like, John Rasberry said that I needed to come home and
Yeah, my therapist told me, he gave
yeah,
me the advice to say exactly this.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, John, I actually think this might be an excellent time for us to wind down. I do have I did create this fun little ticker before. Here we go.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, there's your website. I did spell it correctly, I hope.
yeah, you did. That's great.
So, John, tell everybody what you have going on. Where can they find you? What can they do for you?
You can find me by following that ticker tape. You can find me by going to my Gmail and feel free to send me an email with questions, comments, concerns. You will find out what's going on with me in the most effective way by getting on my mailing list. So if you want to be on my mailing list and take advantage or see at least different group processes that I've got going on throughout the year, feel free to there's a little segment in there where you can click the box and say, put me on your mailing list and all of that business.
And I can attest, some of these events are quite life-changing. Not just educational, but like you do walk away going, drat, I grew. I learned something about myself. Curses.
Right. Right. I've had many people leave a group session with me saying, well, I came here for something else, but boy, oh boy, did I? Holy cow, this is good.
Yeah, in the psychodynamic or psychoanalytic tradition, they call it a good feed. Like after a baby, after you give it a bottle and it's just kind of a little milk drunk.
Yeah.
I've left one or two group sessions a little milk drunk. Well, John, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And for anybody watching, thank you for coming here to talk about psychology and psychotherapy.
Yeah, and tune in next time.